All right. So here I am with Nirra, and we just talked before we started recording about the Paris Olympics coming up. And when are you leaving?
Oh, I leave Monday.
Monday. And Nirra seems very calm, but I'm nervous for Nirra performing in front of 20 or 30,000 people. That's just in the arena, and then there's millions and millions, maybe even tens of millions of people watching.
Yeah, of course. It's gonna
Oh,
be.
I mean, I won't hold you to it, but have you got a prediction? Do you think the team is strong enough to make some noise?
Yeah, we'll definitely medal for sure.
Oh, that would be exciting. Oh
Yeah.
my God. I hope you come back with a gold medal. That would be just amazing. But
Yeah.
any medal, trust me, any medal is fantastic.
Right.
Okay, so that's exciting. So Naira has sent me an agenda, and I've done a little bit of preparation. And if it's okay with you, I thought we would just simply we go through the steps in the buying process, just
Hmm.
so that you know what they are.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, we can do that.
And can I ask you to do me a favor?
Hmm.
Can you boot up a Word document? And as I tell you each step, there's about 20 of them. You just write down the title. So just so you have a record of it.
Yeah, I'll do that right now.
All right. So you and share it with me too, because I have written it up,
Hmm.
but I don't think anybody could read that. So if you type it up and you share it with me, Naira, it'll be useful. I'll use it again somewhere else. All right.
Hmm.
So Naira is interested in buying a multi-family or multi-residential property, getting some investors and doing getting started uh, in a real estate career, because basketball doesn't last forever. I mean, the average person probably ages out around 35, I would think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the NHL, believe it or not, other than the superstars, they tend to age out even earlier, around 32.
Yeah, I mean, you could I there's players that do currently there's a player that's like 40 that's playing in the WNBA.
Yeah,
So it's possible. It just depends how your body
yeah, it depends. I mean, Tom Brady, I think, played till he was 45, but that's
wow, yeah, it's a
yeah,
long time.
that's incredible. All right, so we're going to talk about the steps in the buying process and what I do and what people I coach do and how I represent people anyway. So the first step, this is very self-serving, Ira, is get a great coach. I mean it. Put that down. Number one, get a great coach, which I think you've done. Number two on my list is find a trusted. How fast can you type?
I'm pretty fast.
Okay. So number one, get a great coach. Number two, find a trusted investment realtor. Find a trusted investment realtor.
But
And
not all
the
they
big
so some of them don't specialize in investing.
exactly. So
Okay.
number one is coaching. Number two is getting yourself a trusted investment realtor. And so you can stop writing now. I'll just expand on that a little bit. Most realtors, like most people, are motivated by money. And
Mhm.
so what they're incented to do is to have you buy the most expensive property they can find, because they get 2.5% or 5%, whatever it is, of the deal price. So if you buy $1 million property, they get twice as much as if you bought a $500,000 property. But the $500,000 property might be much better for you. So if you don't have somebody who has experience in investment properties and somebody you trust, they could mislead you. All right. So it's very, very important. And you will have friends who are realtors and they know something about, you're based in Toronto, they'll have clients who make incredible amounts of money, and they'll say, look, find me a nice house for myself and my family. And I don't mind if I pay 2, 3, 4, 5 million for it. But as an investor, you can't do that. All right. So that's a very high on my list. And that's not going to be easy to do. All right. Okay. Now, the next thing on my list is for you to define as best you can what it is you're looking for. So define what it is you are looking for. That's the next thing on my list. And the initials I use are HABU. You've seen that before, I think. HABU, HABU, highest and best use. And that has to come from you. Okay. And highest and best use is an old-fashioned term, meaning what is the legal use of the property? What is the best economic use of the property? So it's no good for you and me to say, oh, look, we bought a site here in this suburb where I live, and Nirra's going to put up a 50-story building. Well, you're not, because there's no way the zoning will allow that. So it's no good to have ideas that are preposterous and won't fit the zoning. So it has to be a legal use, it has to be physically possible to build it, and it has to make economic sense. That's what I mean by highest and best use. So what I suggested that you consider, and listen, if you don't like the idea, you could toss it away. But what I suggested, because you have such a wonderful basketball background, I know you're interested in having some kind of a league, is you might consider, Nirra, in terms of highest and best use, buying some kind of multi-res property. Maybe it's only a triplex, I don't know, but it could be a triplex, fourplex, a 10plex, I don't know, it could be a 30-unit building. But I think you should think about having a building that is themed. And do you know what a TikTok house is?
No, what is that?
I'll show you. Hang on a sec. So this is very popular in places like New York and LA. I think this one I'm showing on the screen is in Los Angeles. So what people are doing, entrepreneurs are doing, is they're buying these beautiful mansions in places like Los Angeles, I think in Austin, New York City, Nashville, maybe Toronto. And they're maybe they are, 10 or 12 or 14, 15 bedrooms. And young people, as you see on the screen here, apply, and they're accepted into they call them TikTok houses, because they're making 2, 3, 4 TikTok videos a day, each of them. And it's a real production. It's a studio essentially. And these are young people who are very good at dance. They're good at singing. They're quite funny, and so the house, together with these young people, they share the revenues that they generate through their video work. And these houses that are themed are quite successful. Many of them are quite successful in producing really fun and great content. One of my daughters does this kind of thing, and she'll release a TikTok video. She'll get 300,000 views in a few days, and these are talented people. And it generates significant revenues for the owner, in which case might be you. So whether it's a TikTok house or it's a basketball house, what I was thinking in my mind is you might find a property that's close to a high school, which has an indoor basketball court, which you could use. It might be across from a park with an outdoor basketball court, and that you could have people apply to live in your basketball house. I call it the Nirra Fields basketball house, just as a placeholder, because I think you have a wonderful name. And people could come there, they could learn their basketball skills, they could practice it, they could learn from each other and from you. I'm just saying you could theme it, and theming houses is very important, I think, at rental properties as well. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's an idea.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I have had I'll see if I can make this a little bit smaller. Maybe I can't. No, probably can't. Hang on, I'll see what I can do with Zoom. Yeah, I'll make it. So I have had a theory. Again, it's very hard to read because this is my handwriting, but this was a drawing I did in 2017, Nirra, for something called Entrepreneur House. And I have a couple of clients, one in Austin, Texas, and one in Florida, who actually did this. So they did a TikTok house, but instead of filling them up with, people who have, dancing, singing, comedy chops, they filled it up with entrepreneurs. So again, young people, not necessarily just young people, mostly young people apply to be accepted. They have some mentors, they have sponsorship, and it's quite a successful model. So it's a house focused on learning and developing startups. So you live together, you work together, you get everything, and they're not all working on the same business. Obviously, there could be 12 to 15 people in each house, many of them working on their own. So I was thinking you could do a basketball house. And I think sponsors might be quite interested in that because basketball is growing at an incredible rate in Canada.
Yeah, it is.
Who would have thought that the Raptors might actually at some stage surpass the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Mhm.
That's a surprise, I think, for a lot of people, including me.
Right.
All right. So this is a typical business model. Over here, you have the entrepreneurs, mostly, as I said, young people. They could be artpreneurs. They could be developing their personal business for life. They could be entrepreneurs trying to build the next big tech company. They have to apply to get in. If they're accepted, then they're in a house where there's live, work, learn, play, make, create, and build. So it's all of those things going on here. Over here on the left side are suppliers. And those suppliers would be people like mentors, sponsors, providing some guidance, but also money. And, there's a whole business model behind this. Anyway, it's something to think about, okay?
Yep.
All right. So the next one is when you find a realtor that you like and trust, and once you have defined what it is you're looking for, your realtor can set you up for auto search on MLS. Okay. So let's say you were looking for a triplex, then your realtor can set you up on an auto search. And that means that without him or her having to do anything, every time something is listed in, say, the Toronto Real Estate Board or some other area that you're interested in, you will get pinged by email and you will see it. All right. So just this point would be launch an auto search on MLS. Okay. Okay, the next point, which I think is number 5, is I want you to practice analyzing deals. All right. You've done some of the prep work for this coaching session, including, of course, looking at how I analyze deals. And I think I showed you what one of my daughters did when she bought her first property, right? It was a duplex. I think you've seen this before, and if
Yeah, you put in your case study.
I think it is. So
Yeah.
this one, I think you've seen this, right?
Yeah, it's in your case study. I read it.
Yeah. And this is it's a duplex that she bought. And did you see the economics of it?
She was making like 1,000, I think.
Right.
Almost.
Yeah. So again, I won't go through it again because I don't want to repeat things, but this is the building that my daughter, this was one of my daughter's first purchases, a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, single car garage, half double. And then when you go around behind, it's got a walkout basement, which you can see, you can see here. And that's where she put in a 1-bedroom apartment, right? So that's what she did. So I'm just gonna whip through this. She applied for a building permit. She added a deck. There's the walkout condition. That's the survey. This is the location. Now, in terms of locations, one of the things that we look for, and this should be the next point on your list, is you want locations with a good walk score. You know what a walk score is, right?
Yeah.
You want a good walk score, close to rapid transit, and you also want something close to substantial employment centers. Because anytime you have a multi-res building or mixed-use building, if you're close to employment, that will really give you a huge pool of tenants. All right. So those are the three primary factors: close to transit, walkable, so you can get to a store if you don't have a car, and close to a big employment node. All right. So in her case, her building is close to a beach, which is kind of nice. It's close to shopping. It's close to a hospital, which is a huge employment generator. This particular hospital, I think, has 5 or 6,000 people working there. She's not far from downtown. She's about 20 minutes, maybe 17 minutes to downtown. She has she's close to a huge shopping center. Like you can walk from her place to the shopping center in 10 minutes. So it's very walkable. The walk score, though, didn't show up very well for her. This is a walk score that you can get for free. It came out as okay, but she's close to transit. She's close to shopping. I thought that was a little weak, but she has good transit and good bike scores.
Mhm.
And then I won't go through this. You've seen this before. This is the apartment that she put in. It's a 1-bedroom. There's the bathroom she put in. Laundry. She added lots of technology. So now she gets about $4,100 a month in rent for this property. And her total cost of it, she bought this property for $345,000, and then she did some renovations. So she ended up with about $525,000 invested in the property. She gets net operating income after paying everything, nothing to do with the mortgage, right? It's cap rate. So after paying everything, she ends up with about $35,000 a year. Her cap rate is about 6.7%. The market cap rate when this was done, which would have been 2 years ago, was around 4.4%, which gave a fair market value for her of about 809. So if you could buy something for $525,000 and it's worth within a couple of years 800,000, that's a pretty good result.
Yeah, I do have a question.
Sure.
So nowadays, there's like all these calculators to help you analyze deals. In the past, I used Deal Check, which was like a software that helped you analyze like real estate deals. Do you suggest using that or just to do it freehand?
So a lot of my clients do use apps to analyze deals, but I'm concerned about that, to be honest, Nirra, because one of the things that happens is you're not really sure exactly what the model is doing. It's kind of like a black box. And you must have a few spreadsheets from me that show some very, very simple stuff that I do to analyze deals, right? You've
Mhm.
seen those, right? And I would prefer, and I think it would be better for you if you were to learn how to use a spreadsheet. Do you know how to use a spreadsheet?
No, I don't know how to use Excel.
You do know how to use Excel.
No,
You
I don't.
did I send you a tutorial on that?
Yeah, you did, but it's still kind of complex.
Okay. So if it's okay with you, I am going to do something live right now. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. So let's see if we could do it together. All right. We'll do it together. Okay. So we're going to date this July 4th. Our American friends celebrate Independence Day, right?
Oh, yes, of course.
So I'm going to call this the Nirra Fields Purchase, okay? So we're just fooling around. What do you think you could buy, say, a triplex for in the areas that you're interested?
Oh, Toronto? Golly, let's see.
It's probably pretty expensive.
Yeah, no, nothing less than 2 million.
Oh, well, we got to find something. Maybe we could find some other jurisdiction is there another town that you might want to buy something in, or does it have to be Toronto?
It doesn't have to be Toronto. I mean, there's Barrie, there's London, there's
So we definitely are gonna have to do something other than Toronto, because it won't make any, I can tell you right off the bat, it won't make any sense at all, but we're gonna try something. All right, let's go. Where's Nirra? All right, so you can see I've got a lot of files on you already. All right, so this is a spreadsheet and 2024, July 4th. Okay. So I've saved it and I'll send it to you after we finish. All right. So we're going to say London, Ontario, triplex. All right. Oops. All right. London, Ontario, triplex. What do you think you could buy a triplex for in London, Ontario?
Maybe like 800.
How much?
800.
You may not believe me, but that was the number I had in my head.
Oh, really?
It really was. I was going to say 800,000, but then I thought I better not, just in case. I think it's better for you to think it. All right. You know what land transfer tax is, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are apps on here somewhere where you can calculate land transfer tax. All right. So we'll go here and we put in this is for Ontario, right?
Correct.
So it doesn't matter whether it's Ottawa. Toronto land transfer tax is double. So, if you bought it in Toronto, it would be not only $2 or $3 million, it would be much more. Are you a first-time home buyer?
Correct.
Yes?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna click this box. So your land transfer tax is $12,475, but because you're a first-time home buyer, you get a $4,000 rebate. All right. So I'm going to copy this number. I'm going to go back to your spreadsheet and I'm going to put that in here. All right. And I'll put in the link so you can find it. All right.
Mhm.
All right. And here's your link. All right. And then you've got some legal costs, right? You got to have an attorney help you close it. So I'll put in, I don't know, $2,300 for that. All right. So your total cost is going to be this. All right. And you're going to buy something nice, but you're probably going to have to paint it and do a few minor. So let's put in some renovations. What's reasonable, to paint it, and maybe you need a new fridge. I don't know, new stove. What do you think we should put in here for renos?
Maybe 10K.
I'm going to put in 15.
15.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Every time I turn around, I have another cost.
Oh, so you buffer it for unexpected
You
costs.
try and bump around. Okay. So there we go. We'll put this up here. So our grand total to buy this thing is that. Okay. Make sure I save it. All right. So we know what our cost is. All right. Now, what do you think our income is going to be? Income. All right. So let's say our income, we've got suite A. What do you think you can get for let's assume it's a 2-bedroom.
In London,
How much?
maybe
What do you
15?
think? How much?
15?
Oh no, in London, I know London, Ontario, it would be probably $2,200.
Oh, is that expensive? That's like Toronto money.
Really? No, I mean, London is, yeah. All right, suite B, we'll say it's also a 2-bedroom, right? And we'll say it gets the same. And you notice how I'm linking it equals this number. So I'm linking them. And we've got suite C, and we'll just for the sake of it, we'll call this a 1-bedroom. And we'll put in 1,600, okay? Oops. All right. All right. So our total for our triplex is this amount, right? And equals this times 12. So this is per month, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is per year. All right. Now, your OPEX your operating expenses, that's everything except your mortgage. So we're assuming that you bought this for cash. So don't worry about a mortgage right now. But about 34%, and you'll see this number over and over and over again, about 34% of all the revenues collected in real estate, doesn't really matter whether it's commercial or residential. Pretty much every time I look at the number, it's around 34%, almost, well, it is a third of money you collect goes out the window for insurance, property taxes, maybe some utilities, property management, repairs and maintenance, vacancy allowance, you name it. So it means this number is equal to minus 34% times your gross operating income. Whoops. That should be a minus here. All right. So this is gross operating income. Okay. And this down here is going to be net, whoops, net operating income. It means what you're left with. All right. So we add these two together because one is a negative. You're left with, am I making any sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
So you're left with about $47,000 a year of net operating income on a grand total cost of $825. So your cap rate, your capitalization rate, is simply your net operating income, this, divided by this. All right, and we'll just make it a percent. So that is your cap rate. All right. Now, you know my goal is to get you to 6, 6.5, 7, or 8%. So this is a little bit below the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm going to write here, the goal is, we hope, 6%, whoops, to maybe as high as 9% if we could get there. Well, we're not there, but so we're a little bit below the goal. All right. So I want you to think about, again, the cap rate, what it really means. This is, it's important for you to understand this. You cannot be a professional real estate investor unless you can do this yourself. That's what I mean. I want you to practice it. It didn't take us that long to do, and it's not that complicated. If you use any of the apps, they will produce information that might be garbage because you don't really know what's going on with those apps.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now, if the fair market value cap rate, that is the market cap rate, let's say an investor will buy this from you with a 5.5% per year cap rate, if that was his or her rate, it means that the fair market value of your property is a little bit higher than what you paid. So it would be equal to the net operating income divided by the market cap rate, which would mean you bought this thing for $825, and after you populated it, it's worth about $40,000 more than you paid for it. All right. So that's all very good. All right. So I'm going to put at the bottom E and OE. When you see that, it means errors and omissions accepted. So those are weasel words I use just in case you actually buy a property and it doesn't work exactly. You can't sue me. Okay. It just means that, you know, some of the work that we're doing is approximate.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And Nirra, you probably know this from your own experience, that every decision that you and I make is based in part on analysis, but it's also based in part on our gut instincts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you meet a nice fella and you think, you know, he might ask you out for a date, you know, you might think, well, you know, do I like this guy? You might do that with your head, but you're also going to ask your heart and your gut what your heart and gut think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you accept, you know, do I like this guy? Is he trustworthy? You know, I don't mean to be overly personal, but you know what I'm getting at. Your instincts are very important here,
Mm-hmm.
even in real estate. So what you want to do is you want to find a building that you really like and do some analysis like this and say, okay, that's probably okay. And then you have to talk to yourself, am I passionate about it? Is my heart is my heart engaged? And does my gut feeling about this say this is a good thing to do? Okay? So it's not good enough just to have a spreadsheet. That doesn't tell you the whole story. Right?
Right.
Okay. So this, I'll call this, case one. All right. I'll just call this case one. All right. And our cap rate for case one is this, and our fair market value is this. But one of the things I want to teach you is something you've heard me talk a lot about already, which is animation. All right, so this is case one. I'll save it again. I'll call this now case two. All right. So let's say you bought a triplex in London. Oh, so we're going to call this case two now, and I'll change the color so we know it's a different case. So let's say we bought this and there was a big backyard. What could you do with the backyard?
You can add one of those little houses you talked about.
Yeah, you could have a little bunkie in the backyard, or you
Mhm.
could have a workshop. We talked about that, I think.
The workshop?
Yep.
Oh, like the shed?
A shed, a workshop. Yep.
Yeah.
Did I show you one of the, I've got lots of daughters. Did I show you one of the workshops that my daughter works in?
Yeah, she bought a property by pond and she made a
Yeah,
shed.
yeah, you remember everything. Oh, that's good. So let's just run another case just for the heck of it. All right. And we'll call this, like I said, case two. Let's say that we could add, so we'll call this the animation. And let's say we could add a workshop. So I add workshops to a lot of my properties. I like doing it. And by the time I buy the workshop, I insulate it, I add electrical, I add heat, I put in a gravel base. It's about $30,000. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So this is animation. All right. So put in a couple more sheet rows here. So our grand total now is a little bit higher. So we're spending more money. Already you hate me. All right. So now instead of spending 825, we're at 855, but our income is going to be a little different. And see, so for our workshop, we can probably get anywhere from $700 to $1,000 a month. So let's assume that we can get 900 in London. I think we'd probably get $900 for the workshop. All right. So we have to sum now. We have to include row 21. So our income has gone up a little bit, and look what has happened to our cap rate. Do you remember what it was in the last last case?
Yeah, 5.8.
Yeah, very good. It's jumped up to 6.6. Doesn't sound like a big difference, but look at the difference in the fair market value. It's jumped up a lot. So now instead of making 40 grand, we probably made 140. Okay. So what's better, 40 or 140?
140.
There you go. All right. So so you could see how simple, and by the way, it wouldn't, oh, excuse me, I screwed up. Did I do something to your spreadsheet? So Nirra, it wouldn't matter if we were studying a 40-story building with commercial at grade and office space up the top and then beautiful apartments above. It's exactly the same analysis, just more rows. Do you understand? It's the same analysis. Okay. Do you think you could learn how to do what we just did?
Oh yeah, it's just practice.
You need to practice. Now, if my dad were alive, Nirra, he would say you just use the magic word, practice. You know what Steve Nash said about practice, right?
What did he say?
Well, he was at the NBA like most valuable player, right? A couple of
Yeah,
years.
yeah, he won 2 times. Think back to
I
back.
think two-time MVP in the NBA. That's pretty good. You
Yeah.
have to be a pretty good basketball player. There's lots of good players. So Steve Nash said, the definition of a professional, it doesn't matter whether it's NBA or WNBA or whatever, coaching, the person who gets up the day after the greatest game of his or her life, or the greatest deal of his or her life, the next day and goes to practice is a champion.
Uh,
And if Michael Jordan were on this call, he would say exactly the same thing. And
mhm,
and Kobe Bryant, he was a maniac for practice. I mean,
mhm.
he was like insane. I mean, I don't know how much he would practice, but he was determined to practice more than anybody else in the NBA, which is almost impossible, right? Because there's a lot of maniacs in the NBA, and I'm sure the WNBA is no different. So the magic word is practice. And I want you to, when you have time and you found a realtor that you like and trust, I would like you to ask him or her to join one of these calls that we do,
Mhm.
so I can talk to him or her as well, just to give you some feedback, make sure you're on the right track.
Okay. Sounds good.
And when you get that when you're on the automatic search and you see a property that you like, you should do these spreadsheets yourself, share them with me and your investment realtor, so that you're practicing. You're practicing two things. You're practicing your spreadsheets, but you're also practicing the ability to see good deals, and you'll get so good at it that it'll be like, are you a good 3-point shooter?
Yeah, I do it all.
Okay. So you're going to get so good at analyzing properties that you're going to see one. You won't even have to boot up a spreadsheet after a while. You'll just say, that one isn't going to work. I'm not spending $2.7 million on a triplex in Toronto, renting it out for $2,200 on each unit. I know that my cap rate is going to be 2 or 3%,
Mhm.
and it's going to fail. Okay, you'll get so good at it you won't have to do the spreadsheets, but you got to practice.
Mhm.
All right, so hang on a second. I am going to, I'll send you those spreadsheets now before I forget. And I'm going to call this email, I'm going to call it practice, practice, practice. All right, and I'll send you those two. I better make sure I've saved them. Okay, so they should be on your email in a couple of minutes, all right?
Thank you.
Happy to do it.
Do you have like a document outlining like how you got the answers, like to show your work?
Say that again?
Can you have like, do you have like a document that outlines like how you got to the numbers, like to show your work so I could replicate it?
Yes, so it's not a document. I'll show you how it works, okay? So just booting up the spreadsheet again, sharing my screen again. So when you put your cursor here and then you left click on it, you
Mhm.
notice up here it shows where the numbers come from.
Mhm.
Okay. When you look at the land transfer tax, I've got over here on the right hand side the website I use to calculate that. When you
Mhm.
look at this number here and you click on this, it shows you that you're summing up the rents from the 3 suites that you have in the workshop that you have. When you
Mhm.
click on this number, it's very simple. It's simply the monthly rent times 12, so that gives you the annual. Then
Mhm.
this 34% though is simply based on my experience. There's no source for that other than I've probably done 10,000 of these.
Mhm.
And your hopefully your operating costs will be 32% or 30%. Some of my clients are so efficient they get it down to 28%.
Wow.
Nirra, watch this. I'm going to change this from 34 to 28. Okay, so I've
Mhm.
changed that number, but I haven't hit the enter key yet. Okay, I want you to watch what happens to your cap rate and your fair market value. If you could be 28% efficient as opposed to 34%. Okay, so I'm going to hit the enter key and watch what happens to road 27 and 29. Look at that. If you could be more efficient, your cap rate could jump up to 7%, 7.2%, and the building value goes up a lot, almost 1.1 million. All right. Now, I didn't want to show you that because I don't know if you're going to be a good operator. Maybe you're going to be, but some of my clients are very, very good. I mean, they pinch pennies, you know, they're really good at it. They're better at it, frankly, than I am. All right, so you should be able to replicate what I did just by looking at the spreadsheet and just clicking on the cells. And if you get stuck, that's what I'm here for. All right, so can we go back to our list? All right, so we've done that. Okay, next, find investors. And I break that into two stages. The first stage is a soft approach, and the second is signing. So find investors, then kind of A, soft approach, and B, sign them. If you write somebody, you know, an email saying, "Hey, I've got this great idea. I'm gonna establish the Nirra. I gotta say your name right, Nirra, right? I've been practicing. So I'm going to establish the Nirra Fields basketball house. And here's the pro forma, the spreadsheet. Here's what I want. Here's what I'm asking for, and all the detail. You're probably not going to get very far. If you say, "Hey, I'm coming back from the Olympics. Here's my silver medal. Here's my bronze medal. Here's my gold medal," whatever it might be. And I'm going to establish the Nirra Fields basketball house in London, Ontario. You know, I'm looking for people who want to be associated with that. If that's of any interest, let me know. We can have a phone call, or I can send you more information. That's a soft approach, okay? And that works a lot better, in my opinion. Okay, so one of the things I asked you to do, which I'd like you, and Paris is going to be a great place to do this. Every time you see a like a sponsor, take a picture. All right, because I want you to come back with a list of potential sponsors. And the reason why I thought you could buy a triplex or a fourplex or a 10plex, whatever it might be, and theme it, is that's a hell of a lot more attractive to investors and to sponsors than just, "Hey, I'd like to be a landlord." Do you understand? And I mean, people still have to pay. You probably know this. Parents will pay almost anything, any amount of money to see their kids excel in sports. Have you any idea what it costs to put I have two boys. One of them was in competitive hockey. Have you any idea what it costs to be in competitive hockey?
14,000 a year.
Yeah, well, back when my boys were doing it, because they're now in their 30s, but back when my boys were doing it, it was probably 10,000.
Yeah, it's increased.
It's increased for sure. Do you know what I had three daughters, all of them involved in competitive dance, and that was even more expensive. It was 12 to 14,000 back then. I don't know what it is today.
Well, yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, so here's the cool thing about and again, I don't want to impose my ideas on you, but if you were to do the Nirra Fields basketball house, you know, where parents could have their kids come and stay and learn from somebody like you, you know, basketball, how to be a great basketball player, an Olympic caliber basketball player, you know, they would pay a lot for that. More than just $2,200 a month.
Right.
Am I right? Are you buying it?
I'm right, yeah.
So, let's go back to our spreadsheet, okay? Shall we do one more case?
Yeah.
All right. Again, if you hate the idea, you gotta tell me, because I get into, as soon as I thought of this, I thought, oh my gosh, this could be something special. All right. So how about we do, we save this as case 3. All right, and you'll see what a difference this will make. So we'll call it case 3. And we'll change the color again. Go to something else. I don't know what. Got a little orange here. And we're going to call this one the Nirra Fields BBL house. Okay? You like the name?
Well, yeah.
I do. Okay, so we've got the Nirra Fields basketball house, and it's the same cost, right? And we have a workshop out back because maybe that you'd use that for lectures. Who knows, you know? So we're not going to change that. But what we're going to say is, okay, instead of having $2,200 for a 2-bedroom, we're going to charge the parents. I'm just going to make it up. Okay, we're going to charge parents $2,500 per month per student, and that's cheap. You know, if you were to send your kid to private school, it's more than that, right? It's a lot. It's very expensive. I mean, private schools now are probably 40, 50, 60. Some of them are $100,000 a year for kids.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. But do you notice that we have 2 bedrooms? So guess what? Do we have 1 student in there or do we have 2?
2.
Right. Watch what happens now. I don't know how that works. Okay. Look what happens to the value of your property. Your cap rate goes to 12%, and your property is now worth almost $2 million. You see the difference? You'll get a lot more investors interested in this case, I think, than the first 2. And wait, we're not finished yet. We'll go in here, we'll insert another row, and we'll say sponsorships. Sponsorships. Did I get it right? Yeah. So let's say you get 15 sponsors. Okay. And they're each contributing, I don't know, well, I'm just making it up, $750 per month, right? They're just setting some money aside for you. So you could produce more WNBA players. And you might think about specializing in women's basketball. Because you know, if you only have women in the house, I mean, that probably has some issues associated with it too, but you won't be policing it quite as much as if you had a mixed population. Right? And you are a star. All right. So if you if you did that, you'd add a bunch of income. Oh my God. And it gets stupid after a while. Now your house is worth $3.5 million. Your cap rate's over 20%. I mean, I better emphasize errors and omissions accepted, so you don't sue me. But can you see what I'm getting at here?
Yeah.
That is incredible.
So what would it look like? Because my idea was to lease a warehouse space and then use the gym to rent out to the public. So convert it into a basketball court with
Yeah.
like,
So what I was thinking is this is your first step, right? This would be step 1. You have the Nirra Fields BB round ball house. I like that better, round ball house. You can change it. All right, round ball house. So you start with that. And then, so this would be, I would consider this step 1, right? So this is, I'll go back to, oops, I'll go back to step 1. is this. Step two would be, say again what your plan was of the warehouse thing. That was yeah. So step two, I think, would be like those guys that do the floor hockey thing. You know what? They do it in public schools. So I think it would be, could be the warehouse, it could be the schools, but it could.
So this would be different. I actually lease. So what they do is they rent it. They don't actually like they just go online and rent the space itself.
That's right. That's right.
The problem with that is availability. It just dependent on the availability.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
It would be more, I guess, profitable to one to lease the warehouse.
Yeah.
And then I would just charge a profit to use the rental, like the gym rental. So like it could be available to the public, maybe a school
Yeah. I
or
get that. I get that.
if your team wants to rent it
Yeah.
out, I
Yep.
would charge them a fee. And then whenever
So
I would use it, I could.
what would you call that? The Nirra Fields is obviously not your house. The Nirra Fields, what?
I would just say NF Hoops basketball court.
Say it again.
NF Hoops basketball court. So yeah, just yeah. Yeah.
Nirra Fields Indoor Hoops Basketball. I want to call it something else. Academy. All right. So that would, I would consider that step two, because one of the things that you, would you consider actually living in the triplex yourself?
One, the issue with the ball house is I don't want to have to babysit kids. That comes with, I guess, added risk.
It does.
Yeah. So I wouldn't want to have the house to have to babysit people's kids. That's why I like the court better because it's a 1 day thing. They come and they get their learnings, but they leave at the end of the day. So there's less risk. But
Okay.
like
Anyway, think about it, because there may be somebody else that you could work with who would live in the round ball house, because this has a different risk profile, this guy. Because there have been people who've done it that have been successful, like the floor hockey guys, and there have been people who've done it who have failed. So the chances of you failing, let's say you bought a triplex and you did this thing that we talked about and it wasn't successful, you didn't like it, you'd probably sell it for what you bought it for, maybe a little bit more. If you set up in a rented warehouse and it's not successful, and you basically have a little bit of furniture and some equipment that maybe you could sell, but you probably lose all your money. So at least I want you to think about it, okay?
Yeah.
And if you don't want to be the person living in the round ball house, I'm sure there's somebody else who would do it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do something else. We're going to put another row in here. What would you have to pay somebody to come in and be the house mother? What would you have to pay somebody to be house mother?
I don't know. It's essentially a nanny, a babysitter.
Not really. You'd want somebody who actually is a basketball player like you, but also doesn't, you don't want the responsibility of being house mother, but you'd want somebody who's similar to you, a young woman who is a good basketball player. She can help them with their learning, but she can also help them with their studies. That she can help them with all kinds of other things. What would you pay somebody? It's like a teacher. What would you pay a teacher?
I don't know, 40, 50.
Let's say, yeah, let's just say you pay her $55,000 a year. And she gets free rent, right? No, I'm not doing that. She's got to pay something. No, plus. Right. All right, so when we do this, we're gonna assume that she's gonna take this one, right? And she gets free rent, right? This is for the house mother.
Mhm.
All right, so she gets free rent and you pay her 55,000 a year. Somebody do that. You still have a 20%, 21% cap rate and a house worth 3.2 million.
Mhm.
That's still pretty good. All right, then you don't have to be a house mother. All right. You're going to be in Paris. Think about it.
Yeah, I still want my idea. I think that is the goal for me. Like I said, I don't want to be babysitting kids or having to be there 24/7 to teach them. So
Yeah, but
that,
that's what the house mother is doing.
yeah, but at some capacity, I have to be there to teach them on a regular basis.
Yeah, you have to be prepared to teach people.
Mhm.
Even if you start the basketball academy, there's going to be a teaching element.
Yeah, but that one would be when it would be a 1 day or 2 day thing
Yeah,
where
I get that. Listen, okay, you hate my idea, that's fine.
Mhm.
But the reason I wanted you to do it, or at least think about doing it, is that it builds equity for you. If you're renting somewhere, you don't own anything, right?
Mhm.
You're looking at me with a very dour expression. Like,
No, I'm thinking about it.
I know, I know. I'm getting to know you a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what else we got here.
I think
Okay, all right, so let's go to the next thing that we have to do. So we've talked about finding investors.
it's 12 right now. Do you want to save it for the next call? Because I do have something later.
Normally these calls are 2 hours.
For 2 hours? Okay, that's
Oh,
fine.
if you have to go, you have to
I
go,
thought
right?
it was an hour. I didn't know it was two.
No, we do 2 hour sessions. I mean, you're paying, a little less than most of my coaching class, but it's normally a 2 hour session, but we can schedule another hour.
Okay, I thought it was an hour. My fault.
No, it's fine. We'll do another hour, but it's part of the same coaching. When are you leaving again for Paris?
On Monday. So you do one call for 2 hours.
Yeah, and
Oh, that's different. Okay.
it's very intense, as you know. But listen, this is great. I mean, I've got lots to do. So,
Mhm.
do you have another hour before you leave? Can you find another hour?
Probably not. I had other stuff scheduled, but that was my fault. I thought it was an hour because I've done most coaching sessions, so I just assumed it was an hour.
That's
I
all right.
didn't.
So, oh, you're leaving on Monday. Oh, yeah. I didn't even know it was Thursday today, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm so busy. I like doing the coaching thing, and it gets me up early, as you know. You see some of my emails; they're pretty early.
Yeah, they are.
All right, but when you're in Paris, you can't do anything. You will try and make a list of sponsorships, right?
I could do a session in Paris. It's only an hour, so
As
there's
long as you're okay with that, I don't want to distract
yeah, that's fine.
from you. So you're in Paris on Monday. When is
But
your
we're not in Paris. We're going to Belgium, Madrid, and then a week before the Olympics, we're gonna do
Okay,
Paris.
so what would be a good time for you in July? I'd like to do it in July for another hour. What's a good day for you?
Can I get back to you? Because I won't have a schedule until we leave.
Okay, no problem. It's been a pleasure seeing you again, Nirra. And
Mm.
we have a recording of this. I'll upload it to YouTube so you'll have it if you need to refer back to it. We only got through, we didn't get through all of our steps. I'll just mark it down here. We've got a bunch more steps to do. And we'll pick it up when you're probably in Paris. Let me know what time is good for you. So for me, just so you know, I work from like about 5 o'clock in the morning till about 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But I try not to work in the evenings. I have a wife and kids,
I
so
know, so you have
I
to.
try not to work after 4 or 5. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds
And,
good.
and Paris will be 5 or 6 hours later, so it should be easy. Like I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning, so we could have a session at noon your time. It'd be like 6 a.m. my time or something like that. It'd be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, so it'll work out perfect.
All
Yeah.
right, see you later,
Thank you. Have a great
and
one.
go get your medal. I am super excited.
We will. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.